When it comes to communication, how do you become a better communicator? Did you know that people more often than not place the wrong emphasis on communicating instead of dealing with something more important than communication? Now, what is that thing that is more important than communication? People might ask, or you might ask as you watch this video. Just to give you an example, I was having a conversation with a group of German tourists, two of them actually, two tourists. But we were having issues connecting because they could speak German and a bit of English. I could speak English, not a bit of German, nothing. So we were struggling. Along the line, there was this other set of tourists that came in, and one of them, one of the persons sitting with me, could hear them. So he walked up to them, introduced himself, and before you knew it, they were just chatting. He beckoned on the second person who excused himself and then went to join them. And in a couple of minutes, they were all happy and laughing, and everything was just going on. And the second group of tourists that came in were Germans. So it's easier for them to connect. I've used the word connect, communicate, and have fun. So I believe that connecting is a lot more important than just communicating. But why is connecting a big thing? Just to let you know, presidential historian named Robert Dallek conducted some research, and he figured out that there were certain things that separated successful U.S. presidents from the average not so successful ones or outstanding ones. Five things: vision, consensus building, trustworthiness, pragmatism, and charisma. Now, out of these five things, four of them depend on communication. Of course, if you get a vision, you've got to communicate your vision. If you have a vision, and then for people to come together and follow you, for you to build consensus, you've got to communicate. Trustworthiness also comes down to actually you saying something and doing it so that people trust you. So it has to do with communication. Charisma, people like people that can communicate, people that can carry themselves well. In fact, even if you look at the last one, pragmatism. But of all of them, four of them depends on connecting. Or I've said four of them depend on communication, but by extension, also connected. You find that for all the presidents that were interviewed or that were researched, just like them, any other leader, wherever you find yourself, whether it's in an office, you're running a business, your ability to communicate effectively is key. But beyond that, you've got to learn to connect with the people that you're talking to. So I believe that the way to think about this is you communicate to connect, to communicate some more. You communicate to connect in order to communicate some more. In case you've never met me before, my name is Stallone-obaraemi Samuel, and I am a member of the Maxwell Certified Leadership Team. Now, what I'm doing right now, what I do is get people to communicate better. Whether they want to be public speakers, they want to communicate a lot more within their spaces, leaders in businesses or leaders at their places of work or even in their families. So today I'm talking about how can you become a more powerful communicator? How can you become a pro? How can you become a better communicator? And this is key, and I'm going to share a couple of tips that can help you. The first thing I have said here right now, and I don't want you to lose it, is that beyond communication, you should think about connecting. Beyond just communicating, you should think about connecting. And I'm trying to establish here, why is connecting important, a lot more important than just communicating. Let me give you another example. John D. Rockefeller said, I would pay more for the ability to deal with people than any other ability under the sun. In case you do not know John D. Rockefeller, just to give you an idea, at the time he died in the 1930s, John D. Rockefeller was estimated to be $340 billion rich. So that means today he's about 3 times as rich as Bill Gates and about 1.5 times as rich as Bernard Arnold. That's the French businessman. As of April 2024, I think when I checked, he was the richest man. So he was 1.5 times richer. So somebody that is so hugely wealthy in any sense, if he says something, you want to listen. Now he said with all he has, he was able to acquire in his lifetime. He said, I will pay more for the ability to deal with people than any other ability under the sun. Now, he did not say, I will pay more for the ability to communicate. He said to deal with people. I would argue that there's a lot more to deal that you will have to, that there's a lot more that goes into dealing with people than just communicating. Now, that's a businessman, an investor, wealthy man. But let's talk about politicians. I love what Gerald R. Ford said. He was the 38th president of the United States. I think he was president of the United States from 1974 to 78, if I'm not mistaken. He said, if I went back to college, I'd concentrate in 2 areas, learning to write and to speak before an audience. Don't forget, how do you become a more powerful communicator? How do you communicate and become successful as a public speaker, as a leader, as a business leader, in your family, wherever you find yourself? How can you communicate to gain massive success? That's what we're talking about. We're saying, put your eye on connecting way beyond just communicating. Gerald R. Ford went on to say that nothing in life is more important than the ability to communicate effectively. It comes down to communicate. Listen, while you have your eyes on communicating, pay attention to connecting. But now I've been talking about connecting, and sometimes it might be in your head as you're listening, as you're watching this, oh, connection, communication, connection. So what exactly is connecting? There are many definitions when you check the dictionary today, connecting or connections. But I love John Maxwell's definition when he said, connecting is the ability to identify with people and relate to them in a way that increases your influence with them. I've mentioned another word, influence. I'll take that again. He said, connecting is the ability to identify with people and relate to them in a way that increases your influence with them. So communicating is one thing. Now, why is connecting important in order to increase your influence? You see, when people understand they can deal with you, when people understand that you feel their pain, you are not distant from where they are, you feel their pain. When they understand that, they believe that in their soul, in their core, then they open the doors to their city, to their heart. All of us, every one of us, we live inside walls. When you trust someone, when you feel that this person understands your pain, you open your doors. That's why it's important to focus on connecting. Your key there is to be able to relate to people. As a public speaker, you want to use examples, you want to use stories, you want to use illustrations, you want to use analogies that will connect with people, the audience that you're speaking with, that you're speaking to, the people that you're connecting, that you're trying to get to see a new way of doing things, the people that you're trying to motivate, that you're working so hard to motivate, the people that you're working to serve. You're doing all you can in order to get through to them. And when you get through to them and you connect, voila. That's why connecting is important. This applies to even families. When parents talk to their children or children talking to their parents, the reason you're speaking English and the other person is probably hearing Spanish is because you're not connected. And that's why I love what John Maxwell's book, Everyone Communicates, and few connect. If you don't know John Maxwell, I'd like you to go Google him. John Maxwell has written over 100 books and sold over 25 million books in 50 languages and speaks to presidents and leaders of nations, Fortune 500 CEOs and leaders. He has been pointed or set to be number one leadership coach on various platforms. I can go on and on, but this video is not about John Maxwell. But I think it's important if you are thinking to become an outstanding communicator, because John Maxwell is a superb communicator and connector. So you might want to check him out. Get that book, Everyone Communicates and Few Connect. And it is an amazing book. It's just how you can get some more, how you can influence people in every situation. And if you follow the definition by John Maxwell I just shared with you, the key thing when you communicate and you connect with people successfully is that you gain the power to influence them, of course, positively. And that is why it's important to focus a lot more on connecting than just communicating. So I hope you're taking something away from this. And I really do hope that you're able to share this video if you think it's been helpful. Okay? But just to illustrate how powerful it is to focus a lot more on connection than just communicating, imagine when you pick up the phone and you're talking to someone and the phone goes off. You immediately feel it and you go, "Hello, are you still there? Can you hear me? Are you still there?" "Oh no." And then you dial again and it goes boom, boom, boom. Something goes wrong. Why don't you keep talking? Because it's useless. Because you're not connected. There's no connection. So if we lead our lives in the same way, understanding that our focus in any engagement, in any conversation, in any relationship is to connect first. The moment you disconnect, remember the example I just gave to you using the phone, that the moment you can't keep talking and then later you see the person later and you say, "Well, I told you everything. I hope you got the message." No way. There's no way the person is going to get a message because the person has gotten disconnected. So connection is key. You want to become a powerful communicator, develop, hone your skills, your connecting skills. All right? Hone your connecting skills. I remember back in the day when I was in my primary school, I used to be really shy. My primary one or primary two back in Africa, I used to be really shy. And I didn't know really that much, but at this point, as I grow on this path of public speaking, I begin to look back and I listen to coaches and mentors, and I also see like real life situations why some of those students or children back then were referred to as teachers' pets, because they were doing something different. I was always at the back of the class, quiet, timid, sort of. But I don't know where it happened, but somewhere between primary 3 and 4 or so, if I'm not mistaken, somehow I shot out of the shadow. Okay. I was always out there raising my hand to answer questions. I was one of the fastest writers in the class since we used to copy, notes from the board. And suddenly I became seen by the teacher. And what I'm trying to say is, we would expect in class that a teacher will deal with all the children equally, but that's not the case. Energy attracts energy. So some of the children become like what we call teachers' pets because somehow they were able to connect with the teacher even without knowing it. So whether we know it or not, when we connect, whether it happens knowingly or unknowingly, doors open. So you want to become an outstanding, powerful, more effective communicator, hone your connecting skills. But what happens if we do not connect? What happens if there is no connection? It's usually cold, ice cold. Go back to your home, go back to your office, go back to wherever, and look at situations that are cold and very toxic. You will find out there are no genuine connections. Connection can actually save your life. I remember this story that I first heard this story from John Maxwell, told this about, I know it's a popular story about George Rodriguez, who was a bandit, a robber who would go to Texas, rob the banks, and go across the River Grande, all right? Yes. And then he would rob the banks and then slip back into Mexico. And at some point, they had groups of people that they call posse, to support the sheriff and law enforcement. And one day, a Texas Ranger saw Rodriguez going from Texas into Mexico. And he told him there was no time to call other people. So he told them. And then went into Mexico. George went into the town, mixed up with the people in the town, and then went to his cantina. Cantina is like a poor boy canteen where you go to chill. And he got there. When the ranger thought that he had cornered Rodriguez, he came out, he brought out his gun, and he said, "George Rodriguez, I know who you are. I've come to collect all the monies that you have stolen from the banks in Texas. Give them to me right now. I'm going to blow your head off." Now, that was the problem. George Rodriguez does not understand English, and the ranger does not understand Spanish. There was a young lad there. Excuse me. And the young lad said, "I can explain, I can interpret if you want me to." And the ranger said, "Yes, interpret, tell him." And the young lad told Rodriguez everything that the ranger said. And Rodriguez became nervous. And he said, "Please, please, tell him. Tell him I have not touched the money. Tell him I have not touched the money. Let him go into the town square. Go walk down north 5 stones. When he sees the fifth stone, he will see a loose stone. He should lift it up. Behind the stone, the money is there. I have not even touched the money, not a cent." The young man looked at the ranger and said, "No, sir, Sir Rodriguez is a brave man. He said he's prepared to die." You see the complete miscommunication. No connection, nothing happens. And if you take from this story, it could cost lives if we're not connected. It could cost us our businesses. It could cost us our jobs. It could cost us our speaking engagements. It could cost us anything if we fail to connect effectively. I like the way Jim Collins put it, that the ability to connect with others begins with understanding the value of people. What do you think about people? How do you value people? It's not processes, it's not business, it's not processes, it's not whatever, it's not technology. According to Jim Collins, that's the author of Good to Great and Build to Last. He said it's about finding enough of the right people and keeping them. Again, that boils down to connection. I like what John Hall in his research also found out, that there's a direct correlation between achievement and the ability to care for and connect with people. Oh my. You see, connecting with people is key. It's not just communicating. Ask yourself, how are you connected? If you find out that you have really connected with people, you run a team that is really connected, you find out that people, you will care more about people and profit, not just profit, or not just about production or security. You'll be very optimistic, ready to listen to people. Those are the traits of great achievers, good communicators, effective connectors. Because when we fail to connect, we live with the illusion that we have communicated, but actually we haven't. I like the way Judge Bernard Shaw put it, that the single best problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place, and actually nothing has happened. And understanding as a public speaker that many times people will not only listen to you, sometimes because they think they know more than you, because we all have our biases. They think you don't know the subject that much. Why am I listening to you? He's too young, he's too old, she's too young, she's too old, she's a woman, he's a man. All sorts of biases. They form walls that make it hard for us to get through. That is why if you want to become a better communicator, my advice to you is that think about connecting a lot more than thinking about impressing. Don't think about impressing people when you get on the stage. Don't think about impressing people when you engage in a conversation. Think about connecting, genuinely wanting to have good communication with people. For people will respect you for your wins. They will respect you for your successes, but then they will love you for your failures if you're really genuine with them. I can't remember who said this, but I think I love the quote. So I hope I've been able to drive you to look at communication from a different perspective. Looking at communication from a point of connecting, because the moment you connect, you'll be able to influence people. And I hope that it changes the way you see things and moves you, inspires you, motivates you to focus more on on connecting a lot more than just communicating. My name is Stallone-obaraemi Samuel. It's been a pleasure serving you at this time, and I hope that this helps you. And my sincere desire for you is that you go on succeeding by becoming a better version of yourself. Bye for now.